Do you think that Pat is reaching it all by assuming that Norby was leaking ratings and information and attempting to sabotage the show? Like, is that something that was surprising at all to hear him jump to that conclusion?
No, it wasn't surprising because there were certain narratives, when Michael Smith and I, when we were hosting the Six, I mean, we knew when Norby took over our show, he didn't really want us to be the anchors. That had he had a chance to go back in the DeLorean, he never would have chosen us to host the 6 o'clock show. That doesn't mean that we couldn't have had a successful show in spite of us not being his first choice, but I do think us not being his first choice or being a choice, I should say, I think that hurt. I mean, it really did. And I don't think, while there was certainly a level of professional respect, I do think the narratives around our show, he didn't help to kill those. And I don't know how much he had to do with creating them, but I can say that, I certainly had my suspicions, especially when it came to certain narratives that our show was too political and there were certain decisions he made. I wrote about it in my memoirs. Like, we had the personality wall behind us that used to be kind of a signature component of our set. And I already knew the picture that bothered him was probably the picture, especially given the climate, was the picture that Mike and I both took with President Obama, who was a fan of our show. And we had that on display every day. And they made us take all that down. And he was the one who engineered doing that. And other things that got back to us about what he said about us in meetings and meeting with other people, we didn't appreciate it. And so when Pat McAfee talked about how narratives are spun about his show and the sabotage, when I tweeted, I can relate, that's what I was talking about. Because people got this idea that our show wasn't about sports when 99.9% of the time we talked about sports.
Sure.
We didn't talk about politics. We didn't talk about, we weren't opening the show talking about immigration reform, seeing where things turn. I was like, shit, I wish we would have, right? I was like, maybe we should have started off the top of the show, talking about reparations. I don't know. I think maybe that might have worked. But yeah, I mean, we felt really undermined at a lot of different points. All of that was not on Norby for sure, but I don't think he helped and I don't think he stopped it. And so I definitely could understand why Pat McAfee would immediately point to him as being somebody, knowing that he wasn't a fan, knowing, that maybe some things were said internally that we're not privy to that probably got back to Pat McAfee. And that's probably why he said what he said.